Hey everyone, this is Module 6 discussion, and for the first question I decided to do a current job that I have, so it's a restaurant. And in the last 2 years we've went through an entire management overhaul, actually more than one time. We had one leave, and she was kind of like the glue that held everyone together. And then the person who was supposed to replace her had 2 days of training left, and then she left. So it was kind of crazy for a little while. And then we had two managers get transferred, and then finally our general manager got promoted to district manager. So we had a lot of different managers. But throughout all of that, the core values and attributes that the restaurant has have stayed the same. So, the people who started the restaurant were very adamant that they wanted things to be done a certain way. They wanted a certain culture in the restaurant. So, throughout all of these managers, we've still had these same values that have kind of been instilled in the organization. So, this would be an example of the functionalist approach, where culture is one attribute that an organization has. For interpretive approach, on the other hand, is analyzing the organization and then describing the culture. So maybe a good example of this would be like a new employee or a new manager coming in to work, observing the workplace, seeing how everything works and kind of analyzing it first and then deciding, how to classify the culture, what kind of culture exists. Let's see. For critical, once a month. So critical approach ensures that everyone has a voice and can be heard. So critical approach seeks to recover and emancipate marginalized voices by exposing processes by which domination occurs. So instead of the managers just having complete power, this is how it's going to be. Once a month, they ask us to put an anonymous note into like a little container or whatever they have with any comments, concerns, questions, suggestions, something they want to see changed. So that kind of eliminates the need for just one person dominating or just the management team having domination over everyone. So I thought that was a good example for the critical approach. And lastly, postmodern. So our restaurant's been open for over 50 years. So our culture has basically been ingrained into what the owners had envisioned when they started the company, which is in itself is a good example of postmodern approach, which says that people's view of reality is preconditioned by the larger historical and cultural discourses that surround and shape them. So we have a history of, certain cultures, things done a certain way. So, and it's still like that today. For number 2, page 58 of the text describes theories of organizational climate, which I think that our restaurant has a positive climate. And then also on 158, Poole and McPhee define climate as collective attitude continually produced and reproduced by members' interactions, viewing our workplace as a structurational process might start out by, say, the serving staff or the cooks in the kitchen deciding on terms, so having a concept pool, deciding on terms to describe the organization, and then the same group of people having a commonly shared abstraction to help capture the basic understanding of the organization. So, kind of coming together to almost create the culture. Um, Basically, a group of similar people in similar job titles deciding what the culture of the organization should be. And then for number 3, page 163 talks about Sheen's model for organizational culture. So he lists 3 levels: basic assumptions, espoused values, behavior, and artifacts. And he says that these dynamically interact. A manager who would analyze an organization's culture might look at whether its behaviors match its values or whether the values accurately reflect members taking for granted basic assumptions. So his definition of organizational culture: members have validated solutions to the point where they assume that's how the world works and view these solutions as the correct way to perceive, think, and feel. The next level is an organization's values or its stated preferences for what should happen. These might be expressed through a mission statement or policy manual. And finally, an organization's behaviors and artifacts is the level of culture most readily seen. Behaviors might range from how people address one another to how staff meetings are conducted. Thank you.